Welcome to Learn and Love Music. I'm Duane Hulbert. Today we're going to look at a wonderful piece for piano, four hands. And I have a special guest today. Ethan's son will be here. He's one of my students, and he's a fabulous musician. One of the things that's really important about playing piano four hands is knowing how to position yourself at the keyboard and how to work out little details in the music. Our piece today is the Slavonic Dance No. 2 by Antonín Dvořák. It's a fantastic piece, and it really shows how one puts together two parts and makes it into one with this wonderful four-hand piece. Before we do some analysis, I want to introduce you to Ethan and find out a little bit about him. Ethan, you are from?
I'm from Gig Harbor. Yeah,
Gig Harbor, Washington,
outside, yeah.
Washington State. And what has it been like to play this four-hand piece? Have you ever done any four-hand music before?
I have not actually played any four-hand pieces before. I've done some, chamber work, but it's mostly with strings. Playing this piece with my teacher, Dr. Hulbert, it's been really fun actually. It's very different because you're on one piano, so you're used to having the whole space to yourself, but now we have to kind of spread out a little bit, make sure we don't run into each other. So yeah, and just make sure the timing's all right.
Right. And who gets to operate the pedal?
The secondo part actually gets to operate the pedal. So he was, working the pedal the whole time.
I wonder why I chose the secondo part. You're better looking. That's what it is. So let's get going with tip number 1. The secondo part is always on the bottom. That's more of the accompaniment line, and also that person operates the pedal. The primo part is the solo part on the top. A lot of melody parts to it, and one of the things that's really interesting, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the other things you need to know. One is that it's nice to have two artist benches. We have two benches here, because a straight across bench, you could work with it, but you have to keep your knees from knocking each other. So what we do is we angle them a little bit. I don't know if you can see that. And so Ethan's left knee is next to my right knee. And as the secondo player, I use the pedal. Put the pedal. So when we begin playing, put your hands on the keyboard, you'll notice that Ethan puts his left leg back, so it makes room for makes it possible for me to do the pedaling. So tip number 2, let's talk a little bit about how to use the pedal. Since the secondo part has the bass, it's the bass note. So in this piece, we have a line going up. So all of those notes in the bass, I sustain them with my right foot on the pedal. If I just did my part, the secondo part by itself, you'll be very much aware of the bass line. Bass line, F sharp, G. So I'm kind of the engineer, the person who has to create the pedal sound. But also I have to be aware of what Ethan is doing. If I hold the pedal down, we're going to do something, just an example from the beginning. If I'm not sensitive to Ethan's part, this could happen. So let's start from the beginning again. What did you think, Ethan?
Yeah, it sounded a little unclear, a little muddy.
Sound like sort of in the bathtub or something,
exactly.
Like swimming around. So the difference is, when you're playing with two people, I have to be super sensitive because I'm not using my fingers to create the upper line. My foot is the only thing that helps. So I'm going to do the exact same passage again. And this time, instead of going all the way down, I'm going to be lifting the pedal gradually with each harmony that you're playing with me. Okay, let's try it with the gradual harmony with the pedal. Exactly. And also you have to make sure that you don't make it too short either. Mm-hmm. I'm going to show you the opposite of that. Mm-hmm. Let's do it, same thing again. Right? Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds choked off.
Choked off. So really the secundo part has to create the lines, the sounds from both the bass line and the sounds from the treble line that come from you, Ethan. Tip number 3, you have to decide in certain passages who gets the upper hand, literally. In this piece, there's a very dramatic moment, sort of halfway through the piece, where we actually collide, but what I do is I play the chords, the big chords here. I'll play them for you. It's... What I'm going to do is I'm going to be using the pedal and then creating this sort of space underneath. So Ethan can come underneath and play his chords without colliding with me. So let's put this part together. We'll start right here at the 68. Excellent. So we really got out of each other's way in that spot. I always think of it as the battle of the pinkies, because it's my pinky against his pinky all the time. So we have to really plan ahead. And one more thing. Dvořák creates some other sort of collisions toward the end of the section here. And one of the things that's important is that our fifth fingers tend to run into each other. And here's an example of that. We're going to start, oops, let's see, right there. Okay, here we go. We collided. Do you want to collide?
Oh, I didn't even mean to collide there. I was meant to collide at the very last note of mine. Do we collide even before? I think that's the first time we've ever done
I think we're really close.
Okay.
So. Were you happy with that, Ethan?
No, we,
okay.
Yeah.
What fingers were the problem?
The pinkies.
The pinkies, okay. Let's see if we can fix that. I'll play my pinky shorter. I can always play the pinky and then put the pedal down to get out of the way. Let's try that. That worked, didn't it?
That was much better.
Okay, good. Tip number 4, when to turn the pages. I'm in charge of turning the pages, but I also have to take into account Ethan's part. So at the end, he has some extra notes while I'm holding the last chord. So I can't turn the page early, as I like to do all the time. So what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to turn the page late to allow you to finish your passage. All right, let's try that last part there. Oh, and by the way, I think I've showed many of you this before. It goes on the floor next to my left pedal, and this is called page flip. There are many devices like this, and there's a pedal on each side. One is for forward, and the other was for backward. And when I push this, I don't know if Ethan, can you hold it up facing, or tell me if something's happening there. Okay, and I can go backwards. I'll go the other way. Of course, this is not done with your thumb. It's done with the foot. Okay, let's try that passage, and I'm going to give Ethan plenty of time to finish his passage before I turn the page. Okay, here we go. Perfect. Was that good? Yes. So I gave him plenty of time. And that was a nice place anyway. We don't need to go quickly into the next section because it sort of resets the mood and the color in that section. I've really enjoyed having my student work with me today. And one of the things that's really, really important is to try to get a bond between musicians, whether you're accompanying a concerto. I've probably accompanied some concertos for you, haven't I? Playing the part. How is this different than accompanying a singer or accompanying concerto accompaniments? How do you find this different?
So I think this forehand is a little different than, say, accompanying a singer or, an orchestra. Is we are on the same playing field. we have to kind of be more aware of whose hands are where. You know, we have to be a little bit more cautious about the timing. There's a lot of places where we have kind of a big pause, but since we're on the same piano, it's a little bit more noticeable when we don't start at the same time.
Right. And, you know, one other thing I want to add to that, I don't know if you noticed, but we breathe together.
Yes.
Did you notice that?
Yeah, yeah.
It's almost as if we're singers, but the breathing gives us a cue as to what's coming next and how to handle the next entrance of a phrase.
Yes, yeah.
So,
I think that's definitely very important to breathe together so that we kind of sync up, you know. I think everyone has kind of a different internal feeling of how long a breath should be, or maybe how long, you know, your phrase ending should be. But if we can kind of breathe together, then we can kind of be on the same page, so to speak.
right. So Ethan, what's the fun in playing forehand music?
I think what's fun about playing forehands, especially, you know, because we're pianists, is I personally feel like playing the piano is kind of a lonely instrument. You know, if you play the strings or the woodwind or a brass instrument, a lot of the times you join, you know, ensembles or you join, you know, a full orchestra. But with the piano, I think a lot of it is mainly solo works. So, you know, you're kind of alone up on stage, and a lot of the practicing, you know, well, I guess across all instruments you practice by yourself, but with forehands, not only do we get to kind of collaborate and you get to work with another, you know, fabulous musician, but it's also almost more intimate than, say, with a singer, or if you're playing in a, you know, a piano quartet, because we're literally playing the same instrument. So it's, you kind of have to be more connected, and the bond almost has to be a little bit tighter, a little bit stronger to make sure that you are truly on the same page, you know, with the music and, you know, metaphorically.
That's well put. Really, really some nice comments about that. The other thing about pianists is that we don't have the same kind of experience with chamber music and playing with other musicians as much as all those people who are singing a choir or playing orchestra or even play trios. At least we have some piano trios and piano quartets to play, but it's not as we don't get as much experience as, say, violinists in chamber music work. But I love this chamber music. Doing this with piano, and also I didn't mention before, but there are a lot of pieces written for piano, two pianos, and four hands. In fact, I've even done a piece for eight hands, four people, two people on each piano.
Right.
And when I was at University of Puget Sound, we did what we call a monster piano concert. And at one point, I think we had 6 pianos on one stage. I actually I made an arrangement of the Ride of the Valkyries, you know, the Wagner, and I had it for 6 pianos, 6 pianists with 6 pianos.
Wow.
That must have been, well, I remember it was one of the most fun things I ever did. If anybody wants the Ride of the Valkyries for 6 pianos, I've got it for you. But anyway, it's so much fun to have you here, Ethan, to be a part of our Learn and Love Music. Hope to see you back again. And by the way, what's in the future for you?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. What's in the future? You know, right now I'm in my senior year of high school, so, you know, college applications, I've been submitting a lot of them. You know, my first one, I applied early, so I get that back in 2 days, actually. Yeah, not that I'm counting or anything, but yeah, no, it's very, very exciting. You know, I've been a classical pianist since about, you know, 5.5. But a lot of the colleges and universities that I'm looking at, they offer, you know, jazz certificates or jazz minors. And, you know, that's always been a huge interest for me. I kind of want to learn a different, you know, facet of the piano. I think it's very, very different. Classical has, you know, the different eras. You know, you have Baroque, classical, and Romantic. But the kind of structure is fairly similar within each era. You know, I think classical can be very technical, but I think with jazz you kind of have to work a lot more with rhythms. You know, there's syncopation, you know, there's the blues, there's swing. So I think it'd be really fun to kind of, you know, participate in one of those certificates or minors to kind of learn how to you know, just feel the music in a different way.
Well, thanks so much for joining us on Learn and Love Music, and hopefully we can have you come back sometime, maybe on a vacation or something like that, and we'll do it again.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Right? And good luck to you in your application process
for
college.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for watching Learn and Love Music. We will see you next time.